All right, welcome to the Krug Show meets the Cohn Zone on a Monday, March the 11th. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go get some. Emeryville, Corte Madera, great spots. And we're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles down in Pacific Grove. Call Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. Grant Cohn in the house. If there are those of you who have noticed, and at least on our end, there were lots of people that were sending me notes going, "Hey, what's up with you? What's up? Why haven't I heard you and Grant? I need me some Krueger. I need me some Cohn together." You know, I was doing a show a few weeks ago, and I started getting the you're a Shanahan whatever. I forget exactly the phrasing. You're a Shanahan something or other, apologist or something like that. And I just flipped out. I was a call-in show, and I just started screaming and yelling. And Kev started looking at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I went off on all kinds of different directions. One of the directions I went off was nobody, has the courageousness to stand up to these guys in the locker room like I do, and blah, 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 blah. And I was a little frustrated that Grant and his dad had done a show they had gotten to the result of Shanahan needs to go. And I thought like I got a lot of that. And I think I voiced that in that. But then in talking about that, I started talking about all kinds of these other things, and I started just kind of basically just being an idiot and just kind of shouting out. And I absolutely don't want people to think that I think that Grant doesn't have the courageousness to go up to the players and ask them things and question them, and because he absolutely does. And it's one of the things I admire about Grant. So I absolutely want to apologize before we go any further. I got nothing, but I wouldn't be here doing this if Grant didn't take the time to sit with me. But beyond that, I do have a healthy dose of respect for the journalistic qualities of Grant, his father, and what they do covering this team. So I just wanted that to be spoken. I know that I know it probably did not sit well with you, Grant. And I just wanted to say I apologize. I admire the platform you've established, and I'm excited to be streaming again with you. And I hope it didn't come out the wrong way or ruin our friendship. I'm kind of a big mouth know-it-all too many times. And there's certain things that set me off, and I got set off and just started bashing. And you
wasn't just me. Look,
it wasn't you.
When I watched the clip,
just you.
I knew you didn't go on the stream planning to do that. I knew you got upset, but I just wondered. I was like, is that how he really feels? Does he think I'm a punk? Does Larry think I'm a punk? Because I'm not a punk. So I understand that you don't think I'm a punk. I accept your apology. We're good. Okay. We're good. Anyway, I appreciate you, Larry. We're good. I
appreciate you giving me a shot to make amends on that, because that wasn't me, and that also wasn't it really was not. It was all morphed into one thing. I was frustrated, but it definitely wasn't at you and your dad. Let's get into the busiest day of the Niner year since the fateful day of the Super Bowl, and that was today, free agency. And we've seen some guys leave, and we've seen some guys come. Charlie Warner is no longer a Niner. It doesn't look like Chase Young is going to be a Niner. Floyd is a Niner now, who comes over in free agency as probably the premier pickup so far, Leonard Floyd. What did you think of the signing?
I loved it. I don't generally like moves the Niners make, which is strange because they're so good. But this one makes total sense. They want to be invested in the D-line. They need a 3-down starter. But you don't need to spend $20 million on a season on every single player on the D-line. This guy is cost effective. He's durable. He's good for about 9 or 10 sacks a season. What more do you want? I mean, it's better than spending money you don't have on someone like Joey Bosa or drafting this position in round 1. I love the signing. And I think the reason they made it is because of Brandon Staley. Don't forget that connection. He coached Leonard Floyd for a year with the Rams. I'm sure he vouched for him. My question is, are they going to get away from this wide 9? Because is Leonard Floyd really big enough to set the edge in the wide 9? And Staley's background isn't the wide 9, and the wide 9 really hasn't been helping them that much. Are they going to do something else sometimes? Maybe.
Are they going to use the wide 9 maybe sporadically and do other things? Yeah, I thought the same thing. I mean, the one thing I like about the move is that it's like it seems that Leonard Floyd has the engine revved up all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter if he's a Ram, if he's a Bear, if Buffalo. I've seen him in different schemes. I love the energy and the speed and the kind of the quick twitch off the edge. It's also a big guy, 6'6". I mean, long arms and can really get after it. I don't know. Randy Gregory, I felt played hard, but he didn't get a lot done. Chase Young, I just didn't feel like played hard all the time. And when he did, it looked pretty good, but he just didn't play hard all the time. And to me, that's can't have it. I mean, you just can't have that. So I'm not sure what to say. What do you think that this puts an end to the Joey Bosa talks too? Because I mean, Mama Bosa has tweeted out her push. I saw your thing saying, if she wants it, it's probably going to get done, or something to that effect. What was your tweet on the Bosa thing? Because the mother is a powerful force, and it seems like she's pushing hard for Joey to join Nick in San Francisco.
Yeah, she was putting up multiple posts on her Instagram yesterday. But look, Joey wasn't going to sign a 2-year, $20 million deal. He wasn't going to do the Niners those kind of favors. And I think the Niners, they could tell Nick, we love your brother, Joey. We just can't afford him. He's so good. When really it's like they just pushed Eric Armstead out the door because he wasn't durable enough. Now you're going to bring in Joey Bosa? Nah. One of the best things about Leonard Floyd is that he hasn't missed a game since 2017. And really, like, he's the best edge rusher they've had opposite Nick Bosa since Dee Ford. And frankly, Dee Ford was never really Dee Ford with the 49ers. He was always hurt on the 49ers. This is going to be interesting. My only question with Floyd is, how is he going to do against the run? I think he did pretty well against the run with the Rams. On the Bills, he didn't play more than like 55% of the snaps, but none of their defensive linemen did. So I think he's got real potential. I like the signing. You can always get a base DN too.
How surprised were you that Armstead was let go today? Because there was not a lot of financial incentive to do this today. That's what kind of made me go, well, what's going on here? Because why today? I mean, it seemed like, they saved $2 million? That didn't seem like this. The timing seemed odd to me.
Well, the report was specific, right? It was Eric Armstead decided to become a free agent. That's how it was phrased, which explains things because it's not in the Niners' interest. $2.5 million. You have to eat $25 million in dead cap for him to play on another team. It doesn't make sense. But so what happened? They wanted him to take a pay cut and he refused. I think it's clear. It doesn't help their salary cap to get rid of him, but it does help the York's bank account because they now don't have to give him any money this year. So they just saved the Yorks. That's all they did.
Do you believe there's so many reports this time of year, Grant, where it's like, is it a report? Is it not? Is it a rumor? Is it not? Is it just an idea that a media person or somebody who runs a website, or a Twitter account basically just, hey, I like it and I'm running a big Twitter account. Like there was a rumor last week about DJ Jones. If you had told me that the 49ers could either pay Armstead or go get a Leonard Floyd on a 2-year, $20 million deal and go get DJ Jones, I would have much preferred DJ Jones and Leonard Floyd. Do you think DJ Jones is in their crosshairs, or is that, and what's his status? Is he still with Denver? Have they made an official move on him yet?
I don't think they've made an official move on him yet. If he gets released, I could definitely see the Niners being interested in him. I also could see the Niners looking at D tackle in round 1 and thinking, you know what, DJ Jones, hell of a player. but we want someone better than DJ Jones. Like, we want a 3-down D tackle, not a 2-down D tackle. No offense to DJ Jones. I see him more as a base D lineman who's good against the run, hell of a player against the run. But the Niners might want someone like Armstead. And to get that guy, they may even trade up in round 1. They take defensive tackle very seriously. So, I mean, when they got rid of Buckner, they replaced him with the 14th pick in the draft. They could do something similar with Armstead.
So you're thinking D-line in the first round.
D-tackle. Yeah.
D-tackle.
Uh-huh.
You did an article the other day about, what's more important, tight end or wide receiver? What's more important, D-tackle, D-end? What was your consensus feedback on what's more important, D-tackle, D-end?
I think I lean towards D-end because my thought process was the Niners need a 3-down starter at that position, whereas at D-tackle, they need a guy who can fill in when Armstead gets hurt. Well, now they need a starter at defensive tackle, and they have their 3-down starter at D-end. So now it's D-tackle is like the biggest need on the team. They have their right tackle. They have their defensive end. They're not going to start Kalia Davis.
Well, I kind of wonder if there's more free agent moves coming before the draft, because look at their D line, just period.
It's decimated.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and then the more I look at those guys, the more I think, no, that guy's not coming back. Like I thought Kinlaw might come back, but now that Armstead's gone, Kinlaw's not coming back.
I don't think so.
I don't,
because he's not a starter.
No, and also I think he may just go wherever Eric goes. I mean, he's just he looked. I mean, they're that tight.
I can see that.
You got other guys too. I mean, is Kevin Givens coming back? He also was kind of not playing a million miles an hour in that Detroit game on some of those plays. So he,
do better.
I mean, Cleveland Farrell, is he coming back?
I don't see why. He got injured. You have Beal and Drake Jackson. You have 4 DNs on the roster right now. I don't see it.
Yeah. So I think defensive tackle, I'll say this. If defensive tackle is the goal at the end of round 1, I like it because I think it sets up for way more talent to be sitting there than offensive tackle. If you're saying we got to have an offensive tackle at 31, you probably are looking at the 7th, 8th, or 9th best tackle at 31.
You might end up with Joe Staley or you might not.
Right. That's very, very iffy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
How about
Chris Jones was the 37th pick in the draft, so you might just get an all-pro D tackle late there.
Exactly. I mean, there's some really good players there. I love this kid from Clemson, Rook Aurora. He's an unbelievable athlete, and then he went to the combine. He just looked freaking phenomenal. So, I mean, they're saying he may go in the 40s or 50s. So heck, they could trade back 5 spots and still get that guy. What do you think
of Charlie? Start right away. That's who they need. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that there may be a couple other guys that are more ready to start right away than Aurora, but we'll see. He's definitely got high end.
Can you say his last name one more time?
It's Aurora. His name's Rook Aurora.
I love it. It rolls right off the tongue.
No, seriously, I'm almost rooting for that just to challenge Papa.
It's phenomenal. Let's
see. Sacked by Aurora.
Row. Was that an echo? No, it's just his name.
No, it wasn't. That's his name. And he's a beast. He's a total beast. Charlie Warner, 3-year deal with Atlanta.
Atlanta's just throwing money away?
I mean, this guy's
no
getting
offense
more,
to Charlie Warner, but $180 million for Kirk Cousins and then $12 million for a guy who never gets the ball. What are you doing?
$12 million for a guy who has 11 career catches. I mean, that's wild.
More millions than catches.
I thought he would be back, but I don't know what to say about Cam Latu. He was awful. I don't know.
How happy do you think Charlie Warner is right now? He was just probably fishing somewhere in Georgia. His agent called him on his flip phone. It's like, hey, Charlie, I know you didn't really see this coming. $12 million. What do you think? And he's like, what are we going to do with it?
God. Yeah.
Do you understand how many fishing boats I can get with that? Wow.
And then there are some guys who come from other side of the country and then they come over here and they're like, you know what? I love it here. I feel like I'm alive here.
I don't think he's one of those guys.
He was the guy that came from Georgia and wanted to get back to Georgia. So,
for him,
it's probably, hey, not only that, with the cost of living and the increased money, it's for him. It's probably like a double win.
He just became the 8th richest person in Georgia. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I'm
he's
sorry. I'm taking
enormously
shots at
wealthy.
Georgia. It's a nice place.
Yeah.
It's a nice place.
Do you have confidence, or do you think the Niners have confidence, or do you? Dwelly's also a free agent. I kind of had him as gone.
Probably.
Does this mean that they've got confidence in Cam Latu and Brayden Willis, or do you think
no one has?
End is
Cam Latu doesn't have confidence in Cam Latu. I'm sorry, but that guy doesn't have the speed or the quickness to get open or the hands to catch the ball. He's in trouble. He may not make the team. They need tight ends big time. I guess they like Brayden Willis. He was on the field in the Super Bowl, but they need tight ends.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I kind of get the feeling that maybe they would have moved on from Kittle if one of those young tight ends last year had been like a star tight end. Instead, they found out nothing about either tight end the entire year, and now they go into this draft needing a tight end again.
Watch them re-sign Dwelly. It's going to happen.
You think so? I could see it. I could see
it. They
it
always do.
For continuity purposes. Were you surprised Brian Burns went to the Giants? And there was a lot of talk the Rams wanted Brian Burns. What do you think of the Giants?
I missed that. I'm sorry. I've been over here writing articles about the 40 freaking Niners. What?
He got traded to the New York Giants and signed a deal. So they're
two of the worst teams in the league doing business together. That's wonderful.
And it's weird because they just draft Kayvon Thibodeau, and they
where
were
the Giants
like
going?
I don't get that.
What are they doing?
Shalari. Yeah, one
of the worst teams in the league.
Maybe they're going to make another move that we're not aware of, but that one caught me by surprise. I thought there was a very good chance we were going to see the Niners and the Rams battling for Brian Burns. What'd you think of the Minnesota kid? There's a lot of talk this morning that the Niners were going to go after Danielle Hunter. What do you think of that?
I didn't see it coming. It seemed too expensive. Leonard Floyd just seemed right in the sweet spot of production and cost. And frankly, I'm all for trying to save a little bit money at DN. Like, they're a dime a dozen. You can get a guy like Leonard Floyd at 32 where people are like, is he over the hill? No. He's been remarkably consistent the last 4 years. Like, yeah, I think it's a nice signing. That being said, Hargrave, 31. Floyd, 31. No wonder they got rid of Armstead. They got to get younger on the D-line.
Well, and, is Burns better than Floyd? Sure. Is Danielle Hunter better than Floyd? Sure.
Yeah.
But not when you factor in what it's going to cost to either trade for these guys or sign these guys. I think they got, the difference between what Leonard Floyd does and what Burns makes and Hunter makes is, Floyd's a screaming deal compared to what the dollar figures those guys command.
Yeah, and these D linemen, they'll help you get to the Super Bowl, but once you get there, the Chiefs aren't ever going to get called for holding. So how much do you really want to spend on your defensive line? That's an incredible statistic that the Chiefs have never been called for a holding penalty in a Super Bowl. Is that true? In their wins?
In their wins. Against Tampa, they did. The year after against Tampa, they got called a couple times, but I don't think. Yeah, I mean that was criminal, by the way. I mean, bear hugging Bosa, and you where everybody can see it. And when was the last time you saw a star defensive lineman get bear hugged the way he did and have it go uncalled? That was weird. That was almost like they decided on that ahead of time.
Well, it happened in 2 Super Bowls in a row, so maybe the Niners have adjusted their thinking a little bit. I like it. I mean, just throwing as much money as possible into one position group, I don't think works. So this is a prudent signing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you are going to spend the kind of money that the Niners have spent on the D line, and then you get to the Super Bowl and they're not going to call that, that's a
you're in trouble because that's the engine of your team.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
The Niners placed a second-round tender on Jawan Jennings. He's going to make $4.63 million under the second-round tag.
Mm-hmm.
Does this surprise you at all, Grant? That Jennings probably would have been the Super Bowl MVP if the Niners had won the game. I mean, he was that good. What do you take off of the second-round money they're giving him?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like he only had 19 catches this year. It felt like they phased him out of the offense unfairly because he's good. And I don't know why in the Super Bowl he was, as you said, he was their MVP. If they had given the original round tender, the 7th round tender, I think a team would match it. Trade a 7th round pick for Jawan Jennings? Absolutely. That's a bargain. But you give him the 2nd round tender, I think a team be willing to spend four point whatever on Jawan Jennings this year, but trade a 2nd for him when you could just draft a wide receiver in the 2nd round. I think that pretty much guarantees that he's coming back to the Niners. And if people remember 4 years ago, the Niners were in the same situation with Kendrick Bourne, who was a restricted free agent. It was an undrafted free agent. They gave him the 2nd round tender. He eventually signed it. I think it'll be about a week for teams to decide if they want to match it with Kendrick Bourne. With Jawan Jennings. But I feel like this will probably be his last year with the 49ers.
Are they going to have all 3 of their guys? Do you expect them to have Debo, Ayuk, and Jennings this year?
I do. I thought there might have been a possibility they could trade Ayuk for Brian Burns, but outside of that, I don't really see the Niners trading Brandon Ayuk. And now it seems like they're trying to free up cap space to make this happen.
It's a weird situation. There's been a couple reports. One report was like the Niners are going to sign Ayuk after the wide receiver position kind of reveals itself, or the market, I should say, develops in March. But then the Niners are also meeting with guys like J.C. Latham and Fukuoka from Oregon State. Those guys are projected to go in like the top 10, top 15. What do you think that there's a chance that, I don't know, maybe Jefferson winds up getting 33, 34 million, resets the market north of 30, and they just say, you know what? Yeah, publicly we've said we want Brandon, but we were never planning on going to those numbers for him. And we're not going to, and so we're going to trade him. I mean, it's just
possible.
Weird. It seems weird. Like, why are you waiting for guys who are going to get paid more if you want to pay him less?
It's possible. I mean, what they could do though is, I don't think Justin Jefferson affects Ayuk that much. Justin Jefferson's by far the best wide receiver in the league, and they can sort of wait and see what teams call the Niners during the draft. Like, if Ayuk wants $28 million a year and the Niners want to give him 24, and they're 4 million apart, you just wait. It's like, let's see if any team wants to give you $28 million. I'm not sure they will, because Jefferson aside, this is supposed to be a very strong class of wide receivers. So would you rather trade a 1st round pick for Brandon Ayuk and give him all that money, or just draft a wide receiver? A lot of teams might prefer to just draft a wide receiver. So what is Brandon Ayuk's trade value really? Is it a top 15 pick? Is it a top 30 pick? Is it a top 45 pick? Maybe it's a top 45 pick, but I think the strength of this draft class at wide receiver could hurt Brandon Ayuk's value, which could play in the Niners' favor.
That's interesting. Colton McKivitz got signed. Ben Barch got re-signed. What are you?
Ben Barch! Stop the presses. Here comes Ben Barch. Is he going to start right guard next year?
Well, he told me he can play center or guard or tackle.
Do it all.
So, maybe he's the jack of all trades. But what did you make of the money that they gave Colton? Do you view that as absolutely he's starting and that's $7 million to be the starter? Because that's a deal. But once again, this is kind of the stated area that needed to be upgraded. Do you think that they're going to upgrade it, or do you think they've done what they're going to do at tackle?
I'd like to see what the structure of the contract looks like next year, but it seems like it's a fairly good bet he's going to be starting at right tackle this year. Trent Williams is going to be 36. Maybe the Niners want to draft an offensive tackle that they can sit on the bench for a year or two and develop, but I don't know. I mean, are you going to develop him at right tackle and then play him at left tackle? I think they like McKivitz. I'm going to say it. I think they liked McGlinchey. A lot of people, me included, said McGlinchey's not good enough. The Niners always shot back with, yes, he is. He is more than good enough for what we need. They didn't want to pay him what his market value was, but I think they feel that McKivitz is just McGlinchey at a reasonable price. And they're willing to work around 13 sacks a year that'll give up. And I don't see it. But they love him. He knows the system. Larry, he knows the system, and that's all that really matters.
Well, I mean, are they going to get – I think they're going to draft at least 2 offensive linemen in this draft. And whether they're drafting him for the future or drafting him for the present, I think they are going to draft a couple offensive linemen. I guess my question would be, do you think there's like a another move coming? Like, could McKivitz slide to center and then get rid of Brendel for cap relief, or do you think Brendel's going to be the center, and Burford and Feliciano? Maybe it sounds like Lynch wants to re-sign Feliciano. Is Burford and Feliciano going to awkwardly share that right guard spot after what was said? And then is McKivitz going to be the starter at right tackle, and then you just draft maybe young guys behind them? I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like it should be center, or should be left guard and left tackle settled, and the other three spots not settled, and just kind of let's have a competition this summer. But I don't know.
I would agree. That's what it should be. But I think Chris Forrester, Kyle Shanahan, I get the feeling they want as much continuity on the offensive line as possible. So my best guess is that Brendel's going to be the starting center week 1. McKivitz is going to be the starting right tackle week 1. And that the right guard spot is the one position on the line that they're looking at potentially bringing in a starter. They could bring back Feliciano, but frankly, they could do better. I mean, Feliciano might be better than Burford right now, but he's not that good. And he's not getting better. So they could go out and sign a better guard, or they could spend a day 2 pick on a guard who can start right away. Someone who actually played right guard in college, not like Aaron Banks, who was played left guard at Notre Dame, was drafted to play right guard, and the Niners were like, oh, turns out he can't do it. We'll wait a year, play him at left guard, and now he's good. Get a right guard.
I want to ask you about Juszczyk. I want to ask you about a couple things, but let's hit some supers here. Brother Bob, Kyle, Bob?
Brother Bob is the ultimate instigator on YouTube. He's a menace. A menace.
He calls me Purdy's pimp. He says, apologize to me after Iglet for blocking me on X.
Now everyone's calling me Iglet casually. Okay.
If you get blocked, you probably deserve to get blocked.
Iglet.
Brother Bob says Cohn is the only one who always calls out Kyle. What's the Levy part?
Not the only one.
Kyle Levy? Am I missing something on Kyle
Marv Levy? Marv Levy. Yeah, that was his though. Yeah.
Refugio Gomez. Play nice, boys. You're both definitely my favorites. Thank you, Refugio.
Well, Kyle just converted to Judaism. He didn't talk about it, but his new name is Kyle Levy. He's Jewish.
Brother Bob says Purdy's pimp. Put some damn respect on that Cohn name. Damn it.
Brother Bob upset. Thank you, Brother Bob.
Manny PSF 95. Niner fans have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to content options, but it would still be a tragedy if you two stopped working together. Two of the best.
Appreciate you, Manny P.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, there really shouldn't be a civil war of 49ers YouTube content creators. I mean, this should be a pretty happy corner of the internet.
They haven't done too many negative things, but anytime they go to the Super Bowl and lose, it always gets my ire.
But we all work together. I mean, we're all so intertwined in each other's success and invested. Like, there's no reason for us to take shots at each other, except for David Lombardi. Just kidding. I like David Lombardi.
I know you do.
I do.
No, but I mean, you basically made most of the people in this realm. I mean, you were in this realm. What year did you start your YouTube channel? I started going hard in 2020. Like, as soon as the pandemic hit, this is all I was doing. And it was nice to at least prove that this could work and become a straight up viable revenue stream for professionals out here. I mean, at a certain point, you were thinking you might have to leave the market. Now it's like, no, I don't have to leave the market. I can just do exactly what I want to do from home. How about that? Dude, that's why nice. I appreciate you, because I was in that mode of I'm going to have to leave the market. And I'm thinking, I don't want to leave the market. This is where I'm born and raised. This is where I'm from.
You're like, talking about the Portland Trailblazers? Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, or just everything that everybody knows about you is only in the last 2 weeks. I mean, come on, I'd like to have some a little bit deeper roots. Refugio Gomez, like I said on the overextended but appreciated last show, I believe this year is about getting cap healthy and signing value players. Are the Niners were the Niners cap unhealthy coming into this period in your mind? I mean, they had some really expensive players who were getting older. I think looking at Eric Armstead and Kyle Juszczyk, right? I mean, these are two of the most overplayed players in the team. Can't justify spending $7.5 million on a fullback anymore who's 33. Can't justify spending $28 million on a 31-year-old defensive tackle who plays 12 games a year tops. Sorry.
So I think it's about time the Niners started making some business decisions. They've been awfully sentimental with the core players of this team. There's even like I call them affectionately the Cabo crew. Like if you're really good, you get to vacation with the head coach in the offseason. That's just so weird to me. So this year, I didn't see Kyle with the players in Cabo. I saw Juszczyk, Kittle, and McCaffrey, and that's it. And it feels like maybe finally Kyle Shanahan's putting a little bit of distance between himself and the players so he can do what's right. I mean, Bill Walsh did this stuff. It's a Niner tradition.
Yeah, get rid of, the idea of getting rid of somebody a year too early as opposed to a year too late. Beatbox basics, as you can disagree, ATM stead as opposed June 1st cut, or you can designate.
Yeah, but do you really want dead cat from Armstead next year, or do you want to just get it out of the way?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you designate it after June 1st, you can split it up. If you do it before June 1st, it all goes into this year. I don't know what the better solution
You can't do that much with the cap space after June 1st, and then you have dead cap in 2025. Like, you might just want to get it out of the way and get some cap space now, even though it's not a lot.
Yeah. Especially since you got the last year of the cheap quarterback. Daza says, with the Floyd signing, is Drake done as a starter? I don't think Drake's ever gotten to starting status.
Sorry to laugh at Drake Jackson, but he wasn't going to sign. He was not going to start on this. Yes, his days were done as a starter before Leonard Floyd was on the team. Larry would have started at defensive end over Drake Jackson if it came down to it.
I mean, and I really like Drake Jackson.
But you put Larry in a 3-point stance and he's trouble, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not. My get off is not what it used to be. The coach, if our D line is the strength of our team, then the success of this season is already in question. We got work to do. Well, but the one thing I love about streaming with Coach, he cuts right to the chase. Mm-hmm. And there are 6 or now 7 new faces on a 10 or 12 man D line.
Yeah, they like to come in waves, right? Where are the waves?
Yeah,
ripples.
It's gonna be at least a free agent or two. I'm not sure if they'll re-sign any of their guys. I kind of felt like at the end of the year, I don't know how you felt about this. We never talked about this, but that the Niners had a big D-line rep, but not a big D-line game. And I really thought their D-line was living on its laurels. People talking still around the league about, the scariness of their D-line. There's nothing scary about their D-line. To me, I think they need some more really tough guys in that room.
Well, to their credit, to give them some credit, I thought the D-line came to play in the Super Bowl. Now, it got tired. The whole defense got tired. But the defensive line, Chase Young played great. All of them were really good in the Super Bowl. But I was like, where was this all year? You really going to blame Steve Wilks? Because I never bought that. So maybe this year they can play like they did in the Super Bowl again. Maybe the fact that Eric Armstead was pacing himself and working through so many injuries was part of it, but he's gone. I don't think Leonard Floyd is a pacer. He's not an Indiana pacer. I think he's going to play his hardest. I think that's going to help. And then if they get a first-round pick on the D-line, that should help too. But you're right. Like, the D-line has to be, the way they build the team, it has to be the best position group on the team. So make it that.
What did you think of Hargrave this year?
Okay. So he was obviously extremely.
I'll say he was well paid, but I mean, I only really saw like maybe 5 or 6 glimpses of that player over the
not an impact player.
Entire season
is what he was. He was not good against the run. As a pass rusher, he was there sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying he dogged it or that he got old. To me, he had these incredible seasons on a 5-man line in Philadelphia. He was sort of a product of their system. In that system, he could get one-on-one matchups and he'd win them. Great. You bring him over here, put him in the wide 9. He's not getting one-on-one matchups. He's getting double teamed all the time, and it's exhausting, and he's not that big. And I don't think he's a great scheme fit. So maybe with Brandon Staley over here, they're going to have some other fronts that they can go to sometimes, and it will accentuate what this man does well. But I feel like they may have made a big mistake signing this guy.
I agree. I was very kind of underwhelmed by what I saw this year. Fish and Chips said, "Did you kiss and make up?" Floyd just a third downer. Is it possible that Floyd will be just a third down
He
guy?
started every game he's ever played in the NFL. I'm sorry.
Yeah, But I mean, do you
No.
think that as he ages, they're going to utilize him more as a third downer? Because it seems like they have 4 or 5 new defensive linemen still to come, adding wise. And it just kind of makes you wonder what's going to be the skill sets of those guys. What will be the usage rate of these guys? I mean, all bets are off. We really don't know because we don't know who the other players on this line are going to be complementing him.
I mean, between Bosa and Leonard Floyd, you have two DNs who really should be playing 75, 80% of the snaps, unless you just want to give them a breather. That's how good they are, and that's how much they get paid. So I think they're pretty good at DN. Could they use another guy? I mean, what do you think of Robert? I guess everyone's written off Drake Jackson. What do you think of Robert Beal Jr.? I'd like to see something from him.
I like him. I mean, Kasarik told me in December that he was like worlds better than he was in July. And I talked to Robert, and he, and at his locker after, I think maybe the last game of the season, and he just was like, hey, I'm a lot better than I was. I know I've got potential to start in this league. So, I mean, I think he thinks of himself as a pretty damn good player who just needs some reps. And hopefully that's the case because he's got the potential. I mean, you're talking about, that frame, those kind of wheels, that kind of movement ability. He's got the ability. It's just a matter of, can he get it? Can he get on the field? Can he stay on the field? Can he be productive when he's out there? Smack Jones says, Grant with the blazer. You're going corporate, bro?
Yeah. Super corporate. Sitting in my house. Absolutely. Sell out.
Blazer. He's got the blazer. Michael McCann says 49ers are sweating after watching Baker and Cousins get paid. Do you wait for Dak to get paid or try to extend Purdy now before Dak breaks the bank? First of all, aren't there rules against them doing it now?
You can't extend Brock yet. So
yeah,
it's against the rules. That would be cheating. In fact, the league wouldn't let them do it. They could try.
We haven't talked since the Super Bowl. What did you think of Brock in the bowl?
I mean, of all the people on the offense, he was like least responsible for that loss. McCaffrey didn't play great. Kittle didn't play great. Debo didn't play great. Ike didn't play great. Purdy was pretty good, considering no one else around him was playing that great. Offensive line couldn't pick up a blitz. Now, I don't understand who's responsible for all those free rushes. Is it the quarterback? Is it the center? Is it Kyle? I don't know. But it seemed to me that Purdy was put in a really tough situation, and he did not compound it. He didn't turn the ball over. He made some plays. I have a lot more respect for him now after seeing him play that game than before it. Thought he rose to the occasion. Did the best he could. I liked it.
He wasn't the reason they lost.
No.
I know. I mean, he wasn't perfect? No. But he wasn't the reason they lost. My whole thing with it is just that I thought there was a chance. Heck, Tony Romo was talking about at the beginning of the game, like, the moment's going to be too big for this kid, and this is the biggest stage.
Too big for Kyle. Wasn't too big for Brock.
Kyle looked like he was his first Super Bowl. Brock looked like he had been there before.
No, I like Brock, and the way he handled it afterwards. He had grace. He had maturity. He was the leader. He took ownership of things that where it wasn't even his fault just because he wanted to be the leader. Like, I like Brock. He's a really good quarterback. He's a terrific leader. He's what this team needs. Kyle should be more like his 24-year-old quarterback.
Well, it would be nice if they, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different
protected him. Got to give an offensive line, helped him out.
You got to have. That's the thing. You got to have some protection for this guy, and also, I mean, my God, I mean, what happened there at the end? I mean, it's like you really. I mean, Chris Forster. I'd love to talk to Chris Forster. Chris, what happened? They got a free runner at the quarterback. How do you have a miscommunication?
9 times.
And of all of the guys to give a free run to the quarterback, Chris Jones, really? You guys came up with a way to give Chris Jones a free run at Brock Purdy in the key moment of the game? I mean, it's like, come on, man.
And if you had blocked Chris Jones, you would have gave up a free runner to Justin Reed. Like, why was this happening? Why do they always have an extra rusher than you had blocker? So I don't know who to blame on that one. I don't think I would blame Brock Purdy.
Well, and if they're going to say, well, Steve schemes it up really well, then why not run on 3rd and 4 and do what the Eagles did and get into 4th and really manageable and just run the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, they were really a couple of solid runs away from putting that thing on ice.
Because really,
And
if you have the number
didn't.
one running back in the league and you won't give him the ball on 3rd and 4 in that situation, what's the point in having the number one running back in the league? What's the point?
Right.
Because in those situations, you're still going to lean on your quarterback. You're still going to lean on your passing game. So your running game is going to win you the Super Bowl. It's just not. So why are you so invested in it? Invest in pass protection, your quarterback, please.
Yeah. Especially now when you've got, a very good offensive line draft. NFL equals Niners for life. Grant, what happened to your studio records?
I move around a little bit.
There you go. There's people always notice the small stuff.
Yeah.
Refugio Gomez, Aziz back to the Titans for $34 million over 3 years. That's disappointing.
Good for him.
I thought for sure he would maybe leave there, but that's a lot of money, man.
A lot of money.
That's over $10 million a year. I think the Niners, all the speculation I saw would be like, oh, maybe you can get him for 8. No, you're not getting him for 8.
He just had a killer year with Tennessee. Good for him. They got Rand Carthon to be their, personnel director over there. He came from the Niners. He brought over Aziz Al-Shaair and Daniel Brunskill, 2 guys the Niners never really fully appreciated, former undrafted free agents. Good players. So good for those 2 guys.
What do you think of Levante David? I mean, has he signed yet today? I know there was speculation that maybe they would go for David. He's not Aziz, but he's older, but they may only need a 1-year stopgap. Or do you think they're going to wind up cutting Greenlaw?
Oh, I don't think they'll cut Greenlaw. If they cut him, would he have to pass a physical? I think Levante David sounds great. Someone a little bit older, maybe they could give a 1-year deal to 2-year deal. Maybe they could play them all 3 together in the base defense eventually. I think Owen Burks was never viable as a linebacker. That guy is a special teams player. So I think Levante David would be great. I've always thought he's one of the best linebackers in the league. I know he's a little older now, but he's a hell of a player.
I was really, if you said, give me one surprise of the year, I was surprised that at no point in the year did D. Winters and Jalen Graham overtake Flanagan Fowles and Oren Burks, despite the fact the rookies, I think, have potential to play from scrimmage, and the veterans were more special team only type guys. And yet, when guys went down, it was like, no, we're leaning on Burks, we're leaning on Flanagan Fowles, and they're fine, but they're not. I think Graham and Winters are going to be significantly better from scrimmage. What did you think of that? I mean,
it's possible.
Graham a shot.
Well, I think the Burks and Flanagan Fowles were on the team primarily for what they do on special teams. I think they're looked at as core special teams players, guys who are assets to that unit. Maybe they're so much better at special teams than those 2 rookies that's why they get to be active on game days. But when it's actually time to replace a weak side linebacker, I think they might give Jalen Graham a real hard look. He seemed like he flashed in preseason and made some good plays. There might be something there.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a huge talent. Ethan M says, no more CMC abuse. Please get a second starter at running back.
What is wrong with Jordan Mason? What is wrong? Oh, he only averages 5.5 yards a carry. What a bum.
Why does he never play?
I don't get it. Oh, because he can't do XYZ. Oh, but he can rush for 5.5 yards a carry, huh? Cool. Well, you might want to use him or trade him. I don't know.
Yeah, you might want to roll him out there and see what he can do.
I don't get it.
Michael McCann says, with so many really good elite wide receivers coming out of these drafts, should the Niners trade Debo now while his price in the market, or price is market value before the market comes down? I don't know what his price is right now. A $28 million receiver who doesn't run great routes, wasn't healthy at the end of the year. I mean, I think you'd be lucky to get a 5th round pick today for him.
Yeah. And if you think Larry's lying, let me ask you this. Why didn't the Niners trade Eric Armstead?
No value.
There's no market for him.
Yeah.
Because that contract's awful. People would be like, no, I am not going to trade a 7th round pick for that contract. And that might be where Debo is too. And so the question is, would you cut Debo Samuel to create a little bit of cap space? The idea seemed crazy a day ago, but they just did it with Eric Armstead. I don't think they'll do it with Debo too, though. I don't think they will.
Debo is so much Shanahan's favorite guy. It's hard to picture.
They're like best friends.
Really hard to picture. R.I.P. Akira Toriyama. Our childhood was.
I didn't watch Dragon Ball Z. I'm like a little too old for that.
Sorry. Karma was
I don't
Hema.
know.
What
I watched
show was
Pokemon
she on?
though. I get the feeling that Dragon Ball Z was better than Pokemon. Pokemon cartoon was pretty bad. It was bad. Like even
terrible.
at 10 watching, you're like, this is terrible. I can't justify this. At 10.
It was really bad.
Sorry. Yeah.
Brother Bob Kyle, question mark Bob. Cohn, you're an instigator on YouTube to come on, bro. LOL.
No, but I do with a smile. Brother Bob, you're way too serious.
Fish and chips, Niner content creators, Cabo click. List them.
The inner circle.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
Who's the Cabo click? Yeah.
If I remember, I feel like Dragon Ball Z got really big in 1999. I feel like I was too old for that. Am I wrong? I just didn't get into Dragon Ball Z. I don't understand the premise. What is a Dragon Ball and what is the Z for? I don't get it.
I was in college at that point. I can't tell you anything about that.
I couldn't either.
Elanta 3 says, hi, guys. Good to see the band back together. Any chance the Niners bring back Jack Coletto to play fullback? He is under contract to the Steelers. So they liked his intellect. He was he was an incredible smart guy. I think he was a mechanical engineering major and like a double major at that. So he's obviously smart. Hughes Check told me he's the smartest football player he's ever met. But I think there were athletic limitations. They needed that roster spot. It was the middle of the year. They had to expose him to waivers. The Steelers have a good personnel department, and they used the fullback, and they picked him up, and they stashed him the rest of the year. So he'll go to camp with the Steelers. Will he make the Steelers? I don't know. We'll find out. We got this one from
I'm
Ethan
still
M.
thinking about Dragon Ball Z. Like, was this on Cartoon Network? Where did you watch this? I just missed it. I'm sorry. What? Everyone's talking about it. I missed it. I'm sorry.
I
was alive in the 90s. I was there.
I was alive in the 90s, but not doing the cartoon thing. And then when we had kids, it was time for even a stranger show called Teletubbies. And then of course, who was the big purple guy? Who's
Barney.
Barney.
I know. I watched Nickelodeon. I watched Rugrats, Doug. Those are classics. And I also had an older brother, 12 years older than me. So I got to watch Beavis and Butthead when it was really going on, which was, man, I didn't quite get it, but it was funny. And
there was also that wimpy kid, Caillou.
My nephew watched Caillou. I didn't watch that. He's definitely too wimpy for me. He seemed like a Doug knockoff without the toughness.
Jordan Hovan says, you think the Niners after the Super Bowl were like, hey, maybe we don't need to kill ourselves by paying elite talent. Give me DJ and re-sign Farrell.
I feel like maybe they understood that they lost a certain middle class on their defense. Samson Ebukam, Jimmy Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Azeez Al-Shaair, like not the stars, but the guys who play really freaking hard and tackle and defend the run. The guys who don't get a bunch of glory, but are totally necessary to your defense. They traded all those guys for Javon Hargrave. So maybe they're getting some more of those guys.
They missed Ebukam badly. They missed Amenahue badly.
Amenahue. My goodness.
Amenahue was really, really good. Fish and Chips says Floyd can't stop the run at all 620 snaps.
That's not true.
2023.
Look at his snap counts on the Rams. He played like all the snaps in the Rams.
This, to me, the whole wide nine is get up the field, rush the quarterback, and if anything, have awesome second level defenders and keep their legs free, and then have guys on the back end who can play the run a little bit. It would be nice if they played the run. They had a couple of guys like, to me, Ward and Tart were so much better against the run than Hufanga and Gibson. And that's pretty noticeable. And then you take away Mosley. Mosley was great against the run. I think they could use some. And if you look at some of the DBs they're interviewing, as far as, Max Melton from Rutgers and Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest, I mean, these guys are thumpers. These are run game, John Lynch thumpers. So we'll see. Maybe they're looking to kind of reinvent their back end a little bit.
Yeah. Like, what are the Niners DNs taught to do? Are they taught to contain or to spill? There's a difference, right? So if the D end is taught to contain, he's trying to force the ball carrier back to the inside. But if he's taught to spill, then you're trying to get upfield and make the ball carrier like bubble backward as he goes around to try to get to the edge. And if that's what they're taught to do, then Leonard Floyd could be really good at getting upfield and forcing the ball carrier to take a more circuitous route and give, the linebackers time to scrape over the top. That was a lot of football jargon, but I wanted to show people that I know what I'm talking about because I'm insecure.
Dazza says, I still think for all the focus on the defense, the team's issues have been on offense. They have to upgrade the O-line in the draft.
Well, no, it's all the defense's fault. It was 100% Steve Wilkes' fault.
Yeah, but the defense has some issues, but the offense has had some major no-shows in especially under pressure and in the playoffs. And it's at some point Shanahan's got to be like, hey, take the podium in the same kind of stance that you took with the Trey Lance trade. You need to take with the offense and just own it. Just be like, hey, you know what? We got a lot of good players. We got a lot of good coaches. I think I know what I'm doing as far as a play caller, but we need to be scoring 28 points a game, and we just scored 18, and that's on me. I mean, if he just said something as concise and as simple as that, I think people would get off his back.
That's what Brock did. Brock was just like, look, 3 of 12 on third down. That just can't happen. That's on me. Like Kyle could have said the exact same thing verbatim, and people would be like, oh, wow, that is so incredible. Look at Kyle. They would just only give him credit for that. But for some reason, he can't put 2 and 2 together on that, or his ego won't allow him to say that. I don't know what it is.
It's a weird thing. He's not, I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that he does not take criticism well. And he definitely doesn't like to blame himself. Now, I don't like the guy who always blames himself because that's also kind of weak.
Disingenuous. Yeah.
But occasionally step up and just be like, hey, you know what? My expectations in this game that we were going to score 30 and we didn't get to 20, and that's on me. And I wear that. So something along those lines, I think, would go a great distance to diffuse.
As opposed to him having an endless list of excuses and why he didn't actually abandon the run game when he did, or why it's like,
just own it.
Just own it, man. People would give you a standing ovation if you owned it.
Own it and move on as fast as possible. Jeb says, if we draft Rice, Gore, or McCaffrey, we're winning it all. Script writers are going to eat it up. LOL. I like McCaffrey's brother, and I like Rice's son, and I think Frank's son looks more like Frank than anybody I've ever seen.
I hope Jim Harbaugh gets Frank Gore Jr. Please.
Yeah. I could see McCaffrey coming to the Niners because, when you talk to Christian about it, he's serious. Like, he wants his brother on the team. And his brother had a really good year. I'll say that. Brother, really, Kyle. Bob says, YouTube Cabo click, Iglet, Nails, Ryan, Coach, and Vish. Look at that. Leaving me out. I can't even drive the bus. Ben says Aziz went to Houston.
We should actually all go to Cabo. That would be so funny. If the players still did it, we should go, hey, the Niners are here, so we're here too.
Shanahan would be so pissed if he saw.
That'd be great. Just on the beach. Oh, look who's behind us. What a coincidence.
Eric Marquette. Aziz went to the Texans, not the Titans.
Another. Okay, so went to D'Amico. Good for him. So now they got Jimmy Ward and Aziz. Nice.
Yeah, the thing about the D'Amico thing, they lost that kid Cashman, who came out of nowhere and made a ton of tackles. He left them this morning. When he left them this morning, I was like, are they going to go for Aziz? Sure enough. They got Aziz. Fish and chips. Larry, what was your favorite Teletubby? Oh, my God. Teletubby was like psychotic. I would say Barney. Barney seemed like he had a good attitude. All right. Couple last ones before we bolt for the door here. Kyle Juszczyk. So it came out that they offered an extension or offered a contract reduction to Eric Armstead, that he rejected it, and so they released him. Then it came out that the Niners approached Kyle Juszczyk about taking a pay cut, and we didn't get a single clarification on that the rest of the day. What do you think's going on here? Do you think that that Armstead's was take it or leave it, and Juszczyk's was not take it or leave it? Or do you think that Juszczyk is just being given 24 hours to think about it? Or what do you think's going on with Juszczyk? Do you think Juszczyk
is a business decision? I think with Armstead, probably him and his agent thought, okay, the Niners have given you whatever the offer is. This is the pay cut. This is the offer. Do we think you could get more than that in the open market. And I'm guessing Armstead and his agent think the answer, yes, they can get more on the open market. We'll see. With Juszczyk, it's more complicated. How many teams need a fullback? Every team needs a defensive tackle. How many teams need a fullback? How many teams would know what to do with Juszczyk, would value him, would see him as an offensive weapon and not just a guy that would play a little bit like 2 or 3 teams? So maybe he's thinking, I might need to take this pay cut. On the other hand, he should really text Mike McDaniel and say, would you guys be interested? Because Florida's a tax-free state. And if the Dolphins can just match what the Niners are offering, from Juszczyk's perspective, I might want to go to Miami and play for McDaniel. It's the same offense. He might be, I think he even said once that Mike McDaniel is the most creative coach I think he said that. Anyway, if I were him, I'd go to Miami. It's really nice down there. Although they're saying you can't do spring break there anymore. Maybe that's cool. He's 33.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then what about his new burgeoning business with his wife? I mean, isn't that changing his economic situation a little bit? I mean,
are the Niners using that against him in negotiations? Like, look, you don't need the money. Like, she's making the money. Now, come on. Help us out.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty funny.
That'd be absolutely
They've given him $35 million to go in motion and touch the ball once a game for 7 years. I mean, it's reasonable to ask him to take a pay cut.
My God. I mean, this guy, I mean, and nothing against him. I don't have anything against him, but I mean, he's made a ton of cash to do kind of a specialist role. They go to a lot of 3 wides, 1 back. They just take him off the field. I mean, it's just I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of him or what, I don't even know how to properly compensate him because he doesn't play like a regular football player. He's not really a starter. He's kind of a complimentary player on offense.
I mean, I think he used to be really good. I used to argue that the Niners didn't use him nearly enough, that he was a guy who should be getting 50, 60, 70 touches a season, but he's 33 now. He's not even the blocker he used to be. There's no world in which the Niners should be paying him $7.5 million. That doesn't help them. He should be making 2, maybe 3.
Last one, Rayshon Jenkins. What do you make of this one? Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network reported the former Jag safety Rayshon Jenkins visiting Seattle today, visiting the Niners later in the week. He just turned 30. I've always liked this player because he's a real hitter. Is this their way of saying that Hufanga's not going to be ready for a while? Because they got Jair Brown, they got George Odom. Aren't they going to let Gibson walk in free agency? So is this the Gibson replacement maybe?
Possible. And maybe they're thinking they need to have a guy who can start if Hufanga doesn't make a speedy recovery. I guess you can't just assume that that's going to happen. I also wonder if they're going to trade Hufanga. He's up for an extension. Are they going to give him an extension? Are they going to make him play out his contract? Like, what's happening there? No one's talking about that. Everyone's focused on Brandon Ayuk because he's eligible for an extension too. But what about the all-pro safety coming off a torn ACL? What are they going to do there?
Wow, that would shake things up if they. And I know D'Amico loves Hufanga.
Yeah.
I mean, loves him. I mean, he would probably want him.
Do Hufanga and Brown complement each other, or do they play the same position? I don't know the answer to that.
I think that so Brown can play in the box or downfield. He's got a nose to intercept the ball. Hufanga is much better in the box than downfield, but he's not fast, but he does break on the ball really well. But I think both of them are strong safeties. I think you've got 2 strong safeties, no free safety, and if you're really looking for something in this draft, it's probably that corner / free safety who can cover the deep third in a cover 3.
I think they drafted Brown because they were concerned that Talanoa Hufanga would have another all-pro season and price himself out of town. That didn't happen. The opposite happened. He got hurt. So I don't know what the Niners are going to do. Jenkins is a starter, so I don't see how they work that out. I hope they keep Talanoa Hufanga. I think he's a really good player and a playmaker. And if they send him to Houston, I think Houston's getting a good player.
Fonga's really good at timing that run blitz and really good at attacking the mesh point. But man, if you make him play coverage, you can see he's a step slow. And Brown, I think, is a big time thumper, almost like a linebacker in the box. But if you make him play coverage, I think he takes chances. I think they're both better closer to the line. So I'm not sure if it's a fit, and I'm not sure Rayshon Jenkins is the answer either, to be honest. But they could definitely use a coverage player. I mean, if this were Legion of Boom Seattle, they've got two Chancellors and no Earl Thomas. They need that Earl Thomas player.
Yeah, and so when they look at a guy like Rayshon Jenkins, who's a free safety, and it reminds me that they're losing to Sean Gibson, who's a free safety, and maybe they don't look at either one of those guys as Gibson's replacement, which is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark's the Boss 3 member for 30 months. I always give the members a little clap.
30 months.
That's a good amount of time. All right, man. What do you got cooking on the channel the rest of the night? Are you done for the night? Are you done? Do you got more cooking? I know you're always going. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, man. Would you say you stream less today than you did a year ago at this time, or more?
I think I'm putting up fewer clips. I think I'm streaming the same amount, putting up fewer clips, but I'm putting up more articles on si.com/NFL/49ers. I was putting up like 1 or 2 a day. Now I'm putting up 5 a day because, why not? I've got to maximize all of my work opportunities. So I'm just trying to balance it out. But I admire how hard you're working, Larry. I see what you're doing, and it's just incredible. You're doing a great job, and I admire people that go all in with this YouTube thing, because why the hell not? It seemed like a good idea.
Seriously, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a ton of fun. Thanks to you, man. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to the super chats. I know there's a lot of people on Twitter, and the number on the StreamYard gets a little distorted, but this says there's over 6,000 people watching this on some level.
Oh, wow.
And if that is indeed anywhere close to the truth,
what an event. We should get in fights more often, Larry. What'd you say about me? What'd you say? We got beef again, not talking for 3 weeks. Man, come see our next show.
It's
gonna be explosive.
That's it. We
just found our gimmick.
He doesn't like me.
I hate him.
Fish and chips. Get that shirt and tie on. I know you're not.
No ties, not at home. I'm going the Miami look. T-shirt and T-shirt, blazer, no socks, loafers. I'm not wearing loafers right now.
It's like a Don Johnson look. All right, everybody. Thanks. Tune into Grant's channel. Tune into my channel. Catch us next week. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.